You're listening to ArTEEtude, a podcast with artists created and produced by Detlef Schlich, a visual artist and ritual designer, living and loving in West Cork, and best known for his essay about the cause and effect of shamanism, art and digital culture. Working in the field of performance, photography, painting, sound, installations, and film, he will dive and discover with us and a weekly creative guest into the unknown and exciting deep ocean of the creative mind.
This is Detlef Schlich, and today we dive into the deep and unknown exciting ocean of the creative mind, together with Karlan Jones. Hi, Karlan.
Hello. Hi.
Great. We had last week. We first of all, it's great to have you here, Karlan. Thank you very much for flying over from Atlanta to West Cork.
I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, and last week we had a conversation about how the life of Karlan in Atlanta and about the difference between a little bit Atlanta and Europe, you know, growing up, going to school and so on. And we finished it actually. Karlan started with his first job in Atlanta. He's working for the broadcast industry, and he's light setter basically, isn't it?
Yeah. You know, that's what I like to tell people, because it's kind of like I guess such a difficult job to explain what I do in all the terms, but the official title is electric and grip. But yeah, basically I just set up lights.
I mean, light is not just light, isn't it? I mean it is. You have to keep a lot of things in mind.
Absolutely. Yeah, there's it's like electric and grip, and then in those two departments there's like 50 other jobs you can do within that to make sure everything runs smoothly.
What belongs to it as well, for instance?
Like for an example, especially if you're on bigger shows, there's somebody who operates the generator truck. So they stick with the truck, and then they feed all the wires through the truck and make sure it stays at a certain level. It can't go over and it can't go under a certain level. So
Karlan, he finished school after 3 years, and then he found a bunch of people, and these people they took him, and so you created a company. How can we understand that?
Well, I had no business in creating it. It was already existed through two guys who were friends that very remarkable, because they're my age, or slightly older than me. So they're like in their mid 20s, or I would say early 20s when I met them, and they own like all this equipment and their own entire warehouse, which was incredible, or is incredible. They have their own contacts. They're honestly probably the biggest film company in Atlanta that caters towards independent filmmakers. So
all right. So how many people are working now for those guys, or together with you?
Oh, like today it's probably like their business has grown so much from what it was all those years ago. So now it's probably like, I would say probably like 15 people work there now today.
All right. And do you guys working all together on one project, or are you flying around on different ones?
Yeah, so how it worked for me when I first met them, and this was like way back in 2016, it was a perfect situation to be in, because I didn't officially work for the warehouse because it was just so new, and then there was already one worker there, but I always hanged around there because it was such a I guess a communication or information hub of filmmakers, actors, directors coming in and out of there every single day, and I would always listen to shoots that are happening and ask to be a part of them.
Volunteering, more or less.
Yeah, exactly. The internship.
Yeah. How long did you do that?
I did that for a year and a half, a little bit over a year.
Yeah.
And those were, I would say those are some really, like, I think in the midst of it, I was like, oh, this is such hard work. Just like literally every single day, I would try to get on a shoot, and it's like 12 to 15 hours work days of, and then since I hardly knew anything, since I hardly knew anything of the equipment and trying to learn it, a lot of it was just like getting yelled at, like trying to understand how stuff works. And like, hopefully these people call me back to work again. But looking back on it, it's honestly, and you could probably ask anyone who's in the film industry, those upcoming years are kind of like some of the funnest years you'll go through.
I mean, 15 hours is long. My father, he used to be the dolly driver in Germany at the WDR, I think I told you, the WDR.
Yeah,
and I mean, it was öffentlich-rechtlich. That means it was paid by the taxpayer, public. He had, I mean, often just his 8 hours every day, you know. I mean, they had a far good life. I mean, they did a couple of feature films as well, but basically it was a lot of education shows.
Oh, that's really cool.
Game shows, music shows, and so on. So they traveled up to Italy and went to the, if they had a thing about the Roman Empire and all that, you know. So it was quite. He had a great job, you know. I mean, the money was good, you know, and it was interesting. I was sometimes as well there in studios, and to be honest, I don't know why I didn't really start at the WDR at this time as an editor, cutter, or whatever, you know, or even later on the camera, you know. I don't know. I think it was more I wanted to do my own thing. That
right, yeah.
That I didn't want to step into the footsteps of my father, you know.
Yeah. That's very normal to feel that way.
Probably. So did your father has he been in the media?
He's like on the side of like computers in terms of like TV shows for the media. So like, for an example, from like any, I guess, channel that you'll see on TV, he would like create like the website for that.
All right, as a programmer or what?
Yeah.
So he was already as well involved in media too.
Yeah, definitely, but not in like nothing filmmaking wise, but definitely like just television.
Your mother too?
Oh no, my mom did like something just way different.
Yeah, so she was not interested in that at all. So, all right, okay, yeah. My mother neither, so it was for her completely a different world as well. It was, and my father, I think he was often happy to be away from home, you know, because his life was far more interesting. If he was away as hanging around at home, you know. I mean,
right.
That was already in his 60s, you know.
Wow.
And after the Second World War was over, and I think 10, 15 years later, it was 44, 64, probably 15, 16, 17 years later, the WDR starts to set up his broadcast, you know. So, and we had in Cologne, we had a huge, I mean, WDR it was a radio and television station, you know.
Right.
So they had next to the Cologne Cathedral, it was a huge place with 1, 2, 3, 4 or 5 floors, you know.
Oh,
and including the cellar. So you had studios in the cellar, huge studios. As big as a football field, almost.
yeah.
A small
That's
one.
super cool.
It was very organized place, and like I say, taxpayers, they paid for it, and it was a great bunch of people. They came from every place, and it was a completely mix of all characters,
Right. Yeah.
It was interesting. So eventually, so in the house where we used to live, I grew up as well at the periphery of Cologne, because WDR, they bought the houses like ours, for probably not less money, so it was very reasonable, and the whole house was full of people who used to work for the WDR, So and there was, but as I started to understand actually later about that, so how organized this TV station was, but this was in the 60s, 70s, 80s, 80s, and like I said, as Ronald Reagan started at the 80s,
yeah,
and Margaret in America and Margaret Thatcher in the 80s in England, and they started with the privatization of TV stations, and Germany started as well with the privatization of TV stations, and all of a sudden, all this high standard shows, they from where's the first, second, and the third program, and that was it, and then all of a sudden RTL, Pro7, Sat.1, and all they came up like mushrooms, and they had to start with shows like Tutti Frutti, which was just running nipples and all that. Very very low level, because they didn't have money for huge shows, So they had to think about how can we, what can we do in order to get our commercials in it, God, I think the standard of the German folks dropped down. So I should probably do better a video about Germany is dying and the world is paying the price for it.
Right.
So that's why I like media archaeology, So because this says a lot as well about society, and if you understand how media changed, you understand as well why and how society changed, isn't it? That's as well somehow a reason why I like to do this podcast, because I still learn a lot about that too, So
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, but back to your job. So as you started it and you volunteered, and then your first job, your real job was, how old have you been then?
I was like 22 when I first started working around that warehouse.
So 5 years ago.
Yeah.
As a freelancer, or did you get a fixed job there?
Just a freelancer, really. Yeah. Just bouncing around from one set to another, just trying to gain experience.
Yeah, sure. And you told me as well that you did a couple of feature films, didn't you?
Yeah, I did a few. Everything from like 2016 until the end of 2018 was all like independent stuff. But there are a few feature films here and there. I would love to do more, but for some reason, like the only jobs I get are like television for like TV shows. But the one feature film that I did that was pretty cool. I got to see the actress from like the Deadpool movies that are pretty popular over here in America.
I know that pool actually. Yes.
Yeah. She was super nice, and the crew was really fun too, to be a part of that. And I just want to do more feature films, because that's like, movies is what I grew up watching, but I love working on TV shows as well.
Yeah, sure. You probably you can't choose that so much, don't you? I mean, you have to take.
Yeah, you just take what they give you.
You told me actually. You told me about last time about, or was it Tom Cruise, and you mentioned you haven't had a special story about him, because we were chatting about Karlan. He asked me, because Karlan's podcast is about movies, where one of the podcast guests is not really interested in, and about B movies and movies which you don't like. And Karlan asked me which actor I don't like actually, and there are not many actors which I really don't like, and I thought one is a little bit like Tom Cruise. But means don't like. I mean, I watched his Mission Impossible
That's right, yeah.
shows, and I found them not too bad, because I love the shows from the earlier, from the 70s or 80s. You know, I love the music and all that. So I watched all of them, and Tom Cruise was in that as well. But I mean, I don't know. So it's one of these blockbuster actors where I said, come on, he's so slimy. You know,
yeah.
especially his sect. What was the name where he is involved? This group.
Oh yeah, the Scientology.
Scientology sect. Oh God, I mean it's. I already feel over here in Ireland surrounded by Jehovah's Witnesses somehow. I don't know if that's true, but I think this Scientology is probably worse, isn't it? I don't know. That's.
I mean, depending on who you ask.
Yeah, sure, that's true. That's very wise.
Yeah.
So tell me, what was with Tom Cruise?
Oh, so yeah, I know like a bunch of people that have like met so many different celebrities and work with all these actors and stuff like that. And usually people always tell me that Tom Cruise is like, whatever you imagine him to be, that's exactly what he is. He's kind of just like a jerk that just does what he wants without any repercussions for anything.
Yeah.
I remember someone telling me that it was on, I forgot what the film was, but it was somewhere, and he was just walking. Like someone was hired to just watch him, right? Watch him, be his assistant or whatever. And he was just walking in someone's backyard. And literally the people who owned the house came outside, are like, "Oh my God, you're Tom Cruise? Like, what are you doing here?" He's like, "Doing whatever I want."
Okay. And he thought it's funny.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. Tom. All right, Tom. Yeah. All right. So I would say we almost already at the end of the second part, and it's great to have you in the show, Karlan.
Yeah, it's great to be here again.
I hope that for listeners you get a little bit an idea about how it is if you're working for the broadcast industry, and just maybe a little bit, but you can go back to the first part and you will find some snippets what you have to do if you really want to work for this. I mean, it is, you have to volunteer probably. That's one of the biggest things, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I would say it's actually the hardest thing. It's the reason why this industry is why it's listed as one of the toughest industries to get in, because you kind of have to sacrifice a lot of your free time. And most of the stuff you do starting off won't be paid.
Yeah, unfortunately not. I mean, that's I know I think that's the same like in Germany. That's the reason why I became artist, because artists never got paid as well.
Yeah, unfortunately.
No, but yeah. Hey, man, I told you in the first part already. So this man is now in the Hall of ArTEEtude, at least. That at least you don't have to get now in the Hall of Fame, in the Hall of Rock and Roll anymore. Hall of ArTEEtude is already enough. And dear listeners, if you want to have a Irish coffee or an Atlantean tea with Karlan Jones and Detlef Schlich, you can Karlan and myself, we are now as well on the Hall of ArTEEtude mug for collectors, and you can get that on www.arteetude.com. Karlan Jones has as well an Instagram account if you want to know more, or if you're interested in Karlan's podcast. Your podcast is the
Starfighter Full Movie Podcast.
Starfighter for Movie podcast, and we will talk probably in the third part and already more about the podcast as well, and about Karlan's projects, other projects, creative projects. So it is on Facebook. You find him in Karlan Jones, and in the Isle of West Cork Artists group, where you can ask questions or just listen to the podcast, or getting informed if new things happen, like my launch, probably which is where we're gonna have a live stream between Berlin and Ireland. But so all the things you can find in my description are in the Isle of West Cork Artists pages, where I promote our podcast here too as well. My Instagram account is at D.Schlich, at ArTEEtude, or at Isle of West Cork Artists, or you're gonna go to the Facebook page, Isle of West Cork Artists. If I forgot now anything, maybe if you want to add anything at the end.
I mean,
of the second part.
I mean, just check out my my podcast, and I also have a YouTube channel that also features the podcast and a lot of other movies and TV shows related stuff in terms of reviews, analysis, and watch parties and all that good stuff.
Yeah, so it's interesting. I mean, this concept of Karlan Jones is interesting as well, but we will speak about that in the third part. I think more. Karlan, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Having you in the show, it was great to have you here in West Cork, and I would say we'll see us next Sunday at 10 o'clock a.m. Early Confessions. Bye.
Later.
Bye.
You have listened to ArTEEtude, West Cork's first art, fashion and design podcast. ArTEEtude, never so close again. That was too close.
All right.